Words influenced Clara's life. Once upon a time, in a small, close-knit village nestled in a picturesque valley, there lived a young woman named Clara. Clara was known far and wide for her striking beauty, but her true allure lay in her gentle and considerate nature. She was a kind-hearted soul who valued the opinions and words of others more than anything else. Clara's life was a reflection of this trait. She had a thriving garden with the most colorful and fragrant flowers, her dishes were the most delicious at every village gathering, and she often wore the most fashionable clothing. But here was the quirk: Clara didn't make a single decision in her life without first consulting everyone in the village. Every day, Clara would go to the village square, where villagers from all walks of life would gather to discuss various matters. She'd ask them for their advice on even the most trivial things. What color should I paint my door? Should I plant more roses or daisies this year? Does this dress suit me? She'd inquire, her big brown eyes filled with earnest anticipation. Her neighbors, eager to help and feeling important, would offer suggestions and opinions. Over time, Clara's life was an intricate tapestry woven from the threads of others' words. She had a beautiful, well-maintained home, exquisite gardens, and a wardrobe that was the envy of the village. But as the years passed, Clara began to sense an emptiness in her heart. She realized that her life was no longer her own, it was a reflection of the collective desires and opinions of the village. She had never truly followed her own heart, and the authenticity of her existence had become lost in the sea of other people's words. One crisp autumn evening, as the leaves rustled in the wind and the village square buzzed with chatter, Clara stood before her fellow villagers. "I need your advice on something very important," she announced. The crowd hushed, eager to help. "I've met a kind and loving man," she began. "He's asked for my hand in marriage. What should I do?" The village square fell silent, and the villagers exchanged puzzled glances. Clara had never sought their advice on such a significant decision before. The weight of their expectations bore down upon her. "Marriage is a sacred union," said the village elder. "You should marry him if he makes you happy." "True love is all that matters," said Clara's childhood friend, Emily. "Make sure he's wealthy," chimed in another. As Clara considered these words, she felt torn. She had always heeded their advice, but she yearned to make this decision on her own. Clara walked away from the square, her heart heavy, knowing that her decision would affect not only her life but the entire village. In the solitude of her garden, Clara contemplated her choices. She realized that the most important words to consider were her own. The opinions of her fellow villagers, while well-intentioned, had overshadowed her own desires for far too long. Clara decided to follow her heart. She accepted her suitor's proposal, not because of wealth or even solely because he made her happy, but because she genuinely loved him. The day of her wedding arrived, and the entire village gathered to celebrate. Clara walked down the aisle, radiant and happy, with a smile that reflected the authentic joy of a heart no longer overshadowed by the opinions of others. As Clara and her husband started their new life together, she still valued the opinions of her village, but she had learned that some decisions were meant to be made from the depths of one's own heart. In finding her own voice, Clara discovered the true essence of happiness and fulfillment. From that day forward, the villagers held Clara in even higher regard, not just for her beauty or her impeccably kept gardens but for the wisdom she had gained through her own journey of self-discovery. Clara had learned that while the words of others could be valuable, they should never drown out the whispers of one's own heart. The end.